When it comes to the 8 Paragons currently in BTD6, they each have different focuses. Some of them are focused more on pure attack damage, the others are focused more on support, and for some reason the one Paragon in the support category is completely attack focused with no support at all, but that's besides the point. Out of all these Paragons, the Nautic Siege Core is unique for having 2 completely different modes, an Unsubmerged mode where it attacks and does massive damage, and a Submerged mode where it provides support and buffs for heroes and other monkey subs. The reason I'm making this video is because there's been a lot of debate lately over which mode is better and whether or not Submerged mode actually has uses. Most of this just comes from arguing in the BTD6 server on Discord, so I decided to run some tests for myself because arguing on Discord will get you nowhere and I wanted to just find out for myself with cold hard science. I ran a couple different tests with both modes to see how they stacked up against each other, and the results were genuinely shocking at moments. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk about the 2 different modes and how they work, so make sure to stick around to the end to watch the tests as well. Anyway, with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So before I get into the tests, I'm going to talk a bit about the different attacks of the Nautic Siege Core in both of the different modes, but I'm not going to go too into detail about them because you can find out all this information in the Bloons wiki, which I will link in the description. In its unsubmerged form, the Nautic Siege Core has 2 attacks. The first one is airburst missiles that have advanced intel, being able to attack anything that other towers can see. They explode into 3 missiles when they hit and they do a ton of damage, though the pierce is admittedly a bit lacking. The second attack is preemptive missiles that come in whenever a Bloon spawns, doing massive damage and having splash damage. The interesting part? They attack any Bloon that comes in, not just Moab class like the tier 5 sub did. However, when submerged, the Nautic Siege Core only has 1 attack, a radiation aura just like the Energizers, except it does a lot more damage, doing 50 damage every 0.5 seconds at degree 1 with 1000 pierce. However, the main power of the submerged mode comes from the buffs it gives. It gives 7 times damage and 3 times pierce to monkey subs, and it gives 5 times damage and 3 times pierce, and 5 times XP gain to heroes. However, there is one downside, and that is that it makes heroes attack 33% slower, which is kind of interesting actually. I don't know why it gives them a nerf, I guess kinda to just balance it out. Don't get me wrong, the hero buff makes most of the heroes significantly stronger, but I think it would actually make Psy weaker because they use mostly insta-kill attacks and the extra damage and pierce wouldn't really do much for them. Now before I move on to the tests, I'd like to clarify something with the added damage from the buffs. It's based off the base damage of the tower before anything else is added like other buffs or extra damage to specific Bloon types. For example, the Energizer now does 35 damage with the buff because 5 times 7. However, it doesn't do 70 damage to ceramics, it does 40 damage because 35 plus 5. So basically that means that you can't, unfortunately, get 14 times damage on subs by pairing this with the sub commander, which is too bad because that would actually be really powerful if that's the way it interacted. Now obviously, I could go into a lot more detail about the Nautic Siege Core's attacks and buffs, and I'm actually making an upcoming video where I test each hero with the Nautic Siege Core buff to see just how powerful it makes it, but I think this is enough for now. So now that we've explored the basics of the Nautic Siege Core's modes, I think it's time we get into the comparison test. I know you guys have been waiting for that. Alright, so here's how the testing's gonna work. In the unsubmerged mode, I'm just gonna have a Nautic Siege Core with 002 dart monkeys for advanced intel purposes so it can see the entire map. No higher degree, no other supports, and no monkey knowledge just so it doesn't benefit from Paragon of Power or anything like that. But first, I'm going to run the Submerged test, which consists of the Nautic Siege Core, 15 subs, and Adora. I chose 15 subs because that seems like a decent amount for an army, and Adora because she's one of the best heroes to pair with this thing and I wanted to show a good synergy. Now, almost all of the monkey subs will be 204 armor-piercing darts, but I will also have a sub-commander and a preemptive strike in there because those will probably be used in most submerged real-life setups. Mostly due to the fact that Paragon of Power doesn't affect Submerged due to the attack speed being capped at once every 0.5 seconds. Now before I start the run, keep in mind that this is actually one of the best case scenarios for a Submerged Nautic Siege Core setup. Most maps don't have space for 15 subs around it, and Adora is probably the best hero to pair with this due to the extreme damage of ×5 buffed Ball of Light. The only hero that might have been better was Brickle with super buffed Mega Mines, but I would have had to get rid of one of my subs to actually have a spot for her, so I decided not to do that. Anyway, with that being said, let's just start the run and see how far they get. I'm curious to find out. So I'm basically still insta-killing everything at round 125, which isn't a surprise considering how strong the Nautic Siege Core buff is. I'll have to see how it handles future rounds though. Okay, so we're at 128 and it looks like fortified DDTs are dying the moment the preemptive missiles get to them, which is really good sign for future rounds. It'll make DDTs a lot easier to deal with if most of their health is just instantly taken out. Also, I hope you guys don't mind if I don't do a ton of talking about the gameplay because I currently have a bit of a sore throat and I don't want to do a lot more talking than is necessary in this video. So here we are at round 138 and DDTs are still just getting straight up handled by those preemptive missiles. I wonder if the 7 times buff applies to the preemptive. If it does, that means we have 5,000 damage with those, which would absolutely obliterate DDTs for a really long time. We've also got round 140 coming up, which will be a really good chance to test out Adora's Ball of Light. I think that thing will be really powerful with 5 times damage, but I don't know yet. Okay, so I think the defense is starting to struggle a bit because round 140 Fortified Bad got a bit far, but regular Bads won't be stronger than this one for a while with the scaling, so I think it'll be good for at least a few more rounds. Okay, round 148, it is starting to struggle a bit. I'm pretty sure this test will be over soon. Okay, yeah, look how far those Bads got. It's definitely over soon. 152 and it's almost over. If I make it past 155, I will genuinely be shocked. Alright, so it looks like the Submerged Nautic Siege Core setup makes it to round 153. I'm surprised, honestly. I didn't expect it to make it that far. I was thinking about 140, honestly. Man, I wish Ninja Kiwi would change the name on this thing. I am tired of saying Nautic Siege Core. Alright, YouTube, it's time for the Degree 1 Unsubmerged test. I bet it'll get to at least round 140. I don't know if it'll get further than the Submerged army, but we'll have to see what happens. Okay, I'm sure the next few rounds will be pretty easy, so I'm just gonna fast forward through them while playing some unreleased Playboy Cardi music in the background. There definitely won't be any copyright issues with that. Alright, I'm back. Hope you enjoyed the song. Cancun's one of my favorite unreleased Playboy Cardi songs. Anyway, I've noticed that this thing's struggling a bit against fortified DDTs, which reminds me that this thing's preemptive damage is actually less than what you get with the Sub-Commander buffed T5. Because with the T5 you get 1500 damage with that combo, but with the preemptive here you only get 1000 plus the 350 splash damage for 1350, which, I don't know, that just seems a bit weak. Maybe NK should buff that. Okay, I'm genuinely getting overwhelmed by round 131 here. What the heck is going on? I expected this thing to be way stronger. I mean, it looks like it'll beat the round, but it's way closer than I want it to be this early. I mean, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible with the tests, but I was thinking it'd be closer than this. And now it's struggling to 135. I think the problem is the small explosions with the airburst missiles, because even though they have decent pierce, most of it doesn't get used, because unlike darts, they can't keep going through the other targets, they all just explode on one target. Which is kinda sad because between all the missiles you have like up to 27 pierce and most of it just doesn't get used. Yeah, I definitely think pierce is the issue more than damage because it's handling round 140 just fine. Okay, it's taking a little longer than I'd like it to, but it'll definitely be able to beat the Fortified Bad. Dang, that got a lot further than I expected it to. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to be making it past 150. Hate to say it. Alright, so here we are on round 145, and oh dang, those DDTs are going insane. Wait, did I just lose a life there? I think a singular ceramic got through. If another one had gotten through, I would have died right there. That's crazy. And yep, the Unsubmerged sub is going to die to round 148, which is 3 rounds earlier than the Submerged one did. So as you can see, the submerged combo got further. But does that mean it's automatically better? The truth is, it's not that simple, and I'll talk more about that in the next part of the video. But first, I just wanted to say, if you're enjoying the video, make sure to like and subscribe so the algorithm boosts me and I can continue making more content like this. Also, if you have any video ideas, don't forget to comment them below. If I like the idea, I'll probably use it in a future video and I'll definitely credit you.
Yeah, my diamond tone. Yeah, my diamond tone. Yeah, my money long. Yeah, my money tone.
The question about which mode is better is quite nuanced because there's a lot of factors that go into it. For example, on the unsubmerged mode, it doesn't matter as much how much water space you have because as long as you can fit 3 subs, you can make the Paragon and you can get it to a pretty high degree with pops and money. However, unless you have room for many subs in the Nautic Siege Core's radius, then the submerged mode drastically loses effectiveness as you don't get nearly as far without the amount of subs supporting it like I did in the Cubism run. I'm pretty sure it would have lost to the other one if I had dropped more than 1 or 2 of the submarines, and I had 15 of them. Another factor is the degree of the Paragon. With the unsubmerged mode, degree changes significantly buff it. But with submerged, it doesn't matter at all because the only thing that changes is the amount of radiation damage. And even at degree 100, you can't pop around 100 bad with the radiation. The damage just isn't there. It's all about the support, and that doesn't change. So the answer of which mode is better is that it really depends on the situation. There are situations where one is better and situations where the other is better, and I'm going to run through both of them. Starting with unsubmerged mode, that mode's better on maps that don't have a lot of water space because with submerged you need a lot of extra subs to make it worth it, but with unsubmerged you really only need 3 to create the Paragon and you can get it to degree 80 plus with just enough pops and money. Unsubmerged is also superior in boss events due to the extra boss damage. Raw DPS against regular Bloons is similar in most cases, but you get more than double damage on all the attacks with the extra boss damage and way more at higher degrees, so Unsubmerged is definitely better in those events. In regular free play, the results are a bit of a toss-up because as you can see, the degree 20 gets further than the submerged sub army, but on maps with more water space where you could probably fit like 25 subs in the radius, submerged would easily beat it. However, there is a scenario where the submerged mode is far superior to unsubmerged to the point where it's not really even a competition anymore. It's such a big difference in power that it feels almost illegal. The scenario is ultra free play, as in going past round 200, maybe even past round 300, and I'm going to explain why submerged mode is so much better in this situation. Submerged mode's true power comes from the fact that it gives a 10% cooldown reduction to other Paragons, meaning that the Navarch's Hook and the Goliath Doomship's Carpet Bombs, which are the main powers late game, can both be used more often now. Not to mention it has the same status effects as Energizer when it comes to reducing the cooldowns of all your other abilities, so that's really powerful for things such as Homeland Defense and Overclock and Ultra Boost. Additionally, the submerged mode sub-army can be super useful late game because with the buffs from Homeland Defense, Overclocks, and the VTSG, they can be quite powerful indeed with the additional buff from the Nautic Siege Core, so that means that the 204 armor-piercing darts army can actually do insane damage. I think the biggest part about submerged mode that's underrated is what it does to heroes. When it comes to Admiral Brickle, the Megamind at level 20 can now do 55,000 damage to many Moab class Bloons in late game when combined with the submerged Nautic Siege Core. That is not a small amount of damage. Also, Final Strike is far more useful in submerged mode compared to unsubmerged. This is because if you're relying on the unsubmerged sub for your main damage, you lose that damage during the 15-second countdown that comes with the Final Strike ability. But if it's submerged, you only lose a bit of buffs and cooldown reduction for those 15 seconds, and then you still get the full ability damage. So when submerged, that ability is just less downsides overall. So to answer the original question of which mode is better, it really does just depend on the scenario. I know that's probably not the definitive answer that you wanted, but it's the answer that my testing led to. What can I say? If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. You're an absolute giga Chad, and I fucking love you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. These videos take a long time to make, so the support is appreciated. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.